Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, YouTube family. It's Rev Wendy Hamilton with the Community of Compassion, joining you for our weekly Spirit Talk on this Sunday, October 25th. I'm so glad to see you this morning. Always appreciate it when you join me. I'm working with my lighting. It's a little bit overcast here in Washington, so forgive me if I seem like I'm in a Halloween themed type room, but hopefully my sound is coming across okay, even if the lighting is a little less bright than normal. Um, anyway, I'm always pleased to join with you all and to give the spirit talks for the week that are designed to help get us through from Sunday to Sunday. And as you know, each week is filled with so much sort of stress and anxiety. It's helpful, I feel like, to have a resource to turn to when we get sort of like midweek around hump day and it's like, okay, I need to refresh myself. And so I appreciate those of you who come back to these spirit talks, during the week, just to kind of get a pick me up. And I'm going to continue to do them, as long as God gives me the ability and the energy and the desire to do them, which I feel like it's so much a part of who I am. You're going to keep seeing me. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for letting others know and having them tune in. And as always, thank you for your encouraging support and comments. Love those as well. So today's talk is inspired by a post that I made on social media last week as we approach, election day, which is now in 9 days. In just 9 days here, of course, in the United States, we are facing one of the most consequential elections of our lifetimes for those of us who, have been around a while. And so it's been really important for me to sort of address the stressors and the things that are happening to us holistically during this time, because I feel like it's so important that not only do we focus on ourselves, physically and what's going on in our environments, but certainly internally focusing on our spirit and making sure that we're practicing good self-care. And these are tips that we want to practice on a regular basis, but definitely when we're in a heightened sense of stress and anxiety, it's even more important to have a plan. And so last week, I think it was, I posted just a simple question. What is your election night plan? Your care plan, more specifically. What do you plan to do? How do you plan for taking care of yourself during this heightened time of anxiety and anxiousness? Now, I will admit, I have been thinking about that for myself. And so I too put that out there into the sort of Twitterverse and Facebook and social media universe to get some responses from folks. And what I found was some people wrote back and said, I hadn't even thought about having a plan until you said something. So maybe now I need to start thinking about it. And I could only use my own experience. And I remember back in 2016, and this is just me personally speaking, not condoning or suggesting that anyone think or vote, one way or the other. But for me, I had high expectations and followed the polls and was very excited that night and thought that we were going to have a very different outcome than we ultimately wound up having on election night in 2016. And all I remember is kind of being by myself and, being in my room, and I just had the television on, at the height of excitement, just thinking, oh, all we're going to do tonight is just see what the polls have been telling us. Hillary's going to win and all is going to be right with the world. And as I started to see even the early states come back and they were not turning blue on the screen, I could sense my anxiety and my stress level going up. Like, is this real? Is this happening? To the point that I said, you know what? I can't do this. I can feel myself getting too worked up. So I literally turned off the television, turned in early that night. I think I went to bed at like 9 o'clock. I think returns started coming in. Some of the early states closed by like 8 p.m. And so some of the returns that started coming in, and I already knew it was going to be tough to watch for myself. And so I made a decision. I made a plan. I am going to stop. I turned the TV off. I went to bed and just decided I will deal with whatever the outcome is the following morning when I wake up. And so that's what I did. I went to bed. I went to sleep. I prayed. And when I woke up the next morning and saw what the results were and just saw the reactions from all over the world, I felt like that was probably a good plan for me, to have done what I did that night before, which was turn things off early and go to sleep, because it was very devastating to wake up to what I was seeing the next morning and what people were experiencing. So this year, it's heightened in a different way, but still heightened. And so I want to encourage you all today. Today's talk is, what is your plan? P.L.A.N. And what I've done is come up with kind of a cute little acronym, if you will, on how to put in place a plan, what you should be thinking about, what you should be preparing for as we approach this election, and just hoping that some of these tips will help you as you navigate these final weeks and prepare for what you need within yourself to be okay either way. Now, I will say this, just to put in a little plug. As I mentioned, at first I was thinking about doing the same thing this time. I was thinking about just going to bed, pulling the covers over my head, and just finding out the next day. But I also feel like that I have a spiritual responsibility to be available to those who may need assistance, in processing everything that's happening one way or the other. So I'm pleased to announce that I will be joining Humanity Forward for a humanity hang on election night, to just give folks a space to gather as the results begin to come in, and get them prepared and make sure that they feel supported and that they feel safe. So I'll be posting more information about that, but very pleased to be able to help and assist and support others. But today I wanted to ask you, what is your plan? How do you, not even just for elections, how do you handle stressful situations that are coming? Sometimes we get hit with things and we were unprepared because we didn't know. It was unexpected. But this, we already know, is going to be very angst-ridden, if you will. So having the opportunity to know ahead of time what's happening, and once again, all of this is happening on the backdrop of a pandemic that we are not only still in, but a third wave has now started to sweep the country. The vice presidential office staff, 5 people within the vice president's office have tested positive for COVID in the last 48 hours. 5. His chief of staff and some other aides have tested positive. He's the coronavirus task force leader and has been since March. And now even his office is being impacted by COVID-19, which tells you COVID-19 is still very present, very with us. And it doesn't appear that we are in a position to mitigate it at this point. So that's still out there. So that's an anxiety all in and of itself. But as we deal with that in the lead up to the election, what is your plan? Well, I have a suggestion, and I just want to go over just the couple of acronyms that I have identified using the P.L.A.N. Now, in scripture, I'll say this. In scripture, there's a passage that talks about being prepared for the enemy, or being prepared for things that you feel like are going to challenge you. And it talks about putting on the whole armor of God. And so it talks about the breastplate of righteousness and preparing yourself with the helmet of salvation and the belt of truth. And so it gives this picture of metaphorically covering ourselves and being prepared and having a plan in place to protect ourselves. And so my plan's not quite going out and putting on a suit per se, but it's just thinking about these 4 areas. All right. So when I think of a plan, I say this: plan, P, prepare to be patient. Prepare to be patient. There is a very real chance that we will not know the outcome of this election on election night. There are so many outside factors right now that are complicating this process. There are lawsuits, there are uh, voter suppression tactics that are happening, there are long lines, there are record numbers of voters, there are even bigger record numbers of voters mailing in their ballots. There are differences by state regarding when the votes can be counted. Some votes have to be counted, including all mail-in and absentee votes have to be counted by election day. There are other states like Pennsylvania where ballots can be counted up to 3 days after election day if they were postmarked by election day. So we may find ourselves in a situation where we may not have the ultimate number and the ultimate winner on election night. But we could also, if numbers are overwhelmingly so, know who it is. Either way, we're going to have to prepare to be patient. So the first aspect of plan is prepare to be patient. Patience is a virtue, and it's one that I work on constantly. So I don't know if it's one that you actually arrive at. I think you just work on it. But patience, let's have that. Let's prepare for that. So that's one of our plan. Step 1, plan, prepare for patience. 2, L, lean into love. Lean into love for yourself. Lean into love for your neighbor. Excuse me. We are going to have to tap into our reserves in terms of how we love and show and express love for one another. We are more divided and at one another's throats, than ever before that I've seen. And so love is not the first thing that comes to mind. We're more focused on what divides us rather than what unites us. And so my encouragement for you is to lean into, when I say lean into, that means to be intentional. So depending upon how the outcome is, you're going to have some people that are excited and you're going to have some people who are not. You're going to have some people who are, even within the same household, who are going to be upset one way or the other. And so for us, make a plan to lean into love, even if you wind up feeling disappointed, even if you wind up feeling discouraged about how things turn out. Lean into love for yourself and lean into love toward our neighbors. It is going to be a bumpy road either way, and love is the only thing that transcends division and hurt. So let's try our best to do that. All right. So we're going to prepare for patience. This is our plan, right? P.L.A.N. We're going to prepare to be patient, and we're going to lean into love, right? A, we are going to be aware of all. Our awareness is going to be key. And I say that in the spirit of being safe. Now, I'm not one to forecast doom and gloom, but I will say that unfortunately, there's sort of been threats and conversations about violence taking place either way, riots or looting or people taking to the streets or civil war. I mean, I've seen it all. You look at social media, you see a little bit of everything. We need to be aware. So part of your plan needs to be awareness. Where are you going to be? Who are you going to be with? What are you going to do if the results don't happen or don't play out the way that you want them to? What are how are you going to respond? How are you going to take care of yourself? How are you going to protect yourself? It's just about being aware of your surroundings, being aware of what's happening around you so that you can respond quickly and respond accordingly. So it's my hope that none of these things come to pass, but it is our responsibility to take care of ourselves holistically. So I know I spend a lot on time talking about how to prepare ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, but certainly physically. What are your plans for your physical safety on election night? Should things, devolve into a place that is less than safe? I think you need to be thinking about, I think we need to be thinking about a plan for that. So we're going to prepare for patience, to be patient. We're going to lean into love, and we're going to be aware of aware of our surroundings. Finally, I want you to nurture your needs. So when I say nurture your needs, that's the N. When I say, be nurturing towards yourself and towards your needs, also just take care of yourself just on that emotional level, and get some things that you need for that night to feel comfortable. When I posted that question, excuse me, a couple of weeks ago, and I said, what's your plan for for election night, your care plan? Some people said tequila. Some people said, all my comfort foods I'm going to have around me. Other people said, I'm actually not going to watch. We're going to have a family night. We're going to do games. We're going to spend time with each other. Other folks said, I've got my pets here and they bring me a source of comfort. So put things in place, plan for that as well. Plan to nurture yourself, because one of the things that makes us feel safe, helps us with our patience, and can be very loving to ourselves is to nurture our needs. And so whatever it is you feel like you might need for that night to help you feel better, do the best you can to get those supplies in place before election night reaches us, because it's very important. So your plan, what is it? We're going to prepare to be patient. We're going to lean into love. We're going to be aware of all that's around us, and we're going to nurture our needs. If we can add those things into our repertoire, we should be able to navigate this election night scenario with some measure of success. I think it's very important, certainly, that we think about it along these lines, because it's not just any other night. It's not just any other election. 2020 has not been just any other year. A matter of fact, I'm looking forward to how this year itself will be written about, in years to come. When we look back on it, and folks, I'm sure, will be writing books to sort of dissect and talk about the year that was 2020. One of the things I'm going to be interested in looking back to see is how we made it through. I'm grateful for that. I know that many people has not. So I'm very, very mindful that this year, getting through this year itself is a feat, is something to be grateful for. So anyway, friends, that's my plan. That's my advice to you. I see you over here making some comments. I appreciate you, AM. And 2020, let's skip this one. I think it's too late to skip this one. But we're still here, and we still have a couple of months left in it, believe it or not. So take care of yourselves, folks. Again, we'll be back here next Sunday. But I just wanted to take this time now, sort of a week out from the election, to encourage you to start planning now. Don't wait until the last minute. Think about what you're going to do and get those things in place so that we can all have a healthy and hopefully healing experience. Thank you, as always, for joining me each and every Sunday. I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing you here next week. Have a blessed one, and I'll see you next Sunday. Take care.